speak tonight. So if you would please help me welcome for a few reflections one of our organization's founders, who's also a great connector in our city in her own right, the leader of the Worthington Area Chamber of Commerce. Please help me welcome Catherine Paul.
You're getting taller, Catherine.
If I could ask, thank you, Sharon Keeney and Kathy Moore also to join me as we reflect on some things that happened actually about 26 and a half years ago. Good evening, everybody. As Jim said, I'm Catherine Paugh. I'm president of the Worthington Area Chamber of Commerce, and more pertinent to tonight's event, I am privileged to have been one of about 30 people in Worthington who worked together on a brainstorming team from 1989 to 1991 to lay the groundwork for the program that became Leadership Worthington. Joan and Jim asked me to share a few reflections on the history of the program and the impact of community leadership programs. Well, it's true that the Chamber was one of the two catalyzing organizations for Leadership Worthington. But the irony is I wasn't with the Chamber at the time. That was even before my friend John Butterfield. It was when Gene Sickles, who was unable to join us tonight, was with the Chamber. I was, however, on the Worthington Schools Business Partnership Council, which was the other partner in the launch of Leadership Worthington. And the school district became very important to the history, right, Kathy Moore? So. Well, why was the time ripe for the development of Leadership Worthington in 1989? Sharon Keeney remembers this as well, and was one of those 30 original founders. Well, after all, community leadership programs have been on the American landscape since 1959, when the Philadelphia program began. Other community leadership programs were sparked during the race riots of the 1960s to create mutual understanding of the issues and the problems facing the communities that were experiencing unrest. But many programs sprang up at the same time ours did, following a 1988 airplane crash that killed most of Atlanta's young leaders. And that dramatic event created a leadership vacuum that prompted the founding of Leadership Atlanta. It also brought public attention to the need to groom a continual well of leaders, and programs like CALP, which Sharon remembers, the Columbus Area Leadership Program. It's now called Leadership Columbus. It grew locally, and several of our group of 30 charter Leadership Worthington team members had graduated from that program, and we wanted a high quality program like that in our own suburban community. We knew that there were usual suspects among most of our public and private boards and leadership teams. And we knew that community leadership should no longer be seen as something exercised by a few persons who held certain positions or exercised certain behaviors. Instead, communities needed leaders and continue to need leaders who work to empower others. Contemporary leadership required individuals to work with others as a coach, a mentor, a motivator, and a role model, to be able to make tough decisions and understand how organizational politics work to achieve organizational effectiveness. So following more than a year of development, the Leadership Worthington program launched with its charter class in '91. Here's the alumni directory, with Kathy Moore as the first program director. Please give her a round of applause. I have to say that special thanks were due to Kathy, because most of this year and a half of planning, she wasn't even destined to be the leader. We were working with somebody else, and because of a health crisis, that person was not able to step in. So Kathy agreed to do that at a very late stage and did such a job that the rest is history, as they say, but it was especially appreciated. Well, Leadership Worthington has since then graduated more than 400 leaders. I was on the marketing team with Sharon Keeney, with Suburban News publisher Jim Toms, with then printer Dwight Moody. So I have many of the early documents and about 15 years of alumni directories and brochures that we produced. I have a lot of them with me tonight if you'd like to see them. I didn't put them back there because I'm afraid somebody will walk off with them. So it's fun to look back, to trace the journey, and to discover how many friends and colleagues in the room have been part of this quarter century of leadership history. Well, there are more than 800 programs like ours in communities today, with varying needs, but with some common goals that typify the programs, and they describe the impact of our community's program. So if we would think about those together, providing networking opportunities, creating closer bonds between people, giving people information about their community's strengths, problems, and needs, adding to the pool of local leaders who can apply their leadership knowledge and skills in their respective professions, businesses, organizations, and communities, visiting and discussing specific community sectors such as government, healthcare, economic development, and education. I know that's part of your Leadership Worthington programming. Teaching leadership skills, inspiring participants to become effective leaders, promoting volunteerism, and positively impacting nonprofit and for-profit organizations, fields, communities, and systems. So for its focus on these kinds of community impacts, we salute Leadership Worthington on its 25th anniversary. And for the development of more than 400 of our local citizens, we applaud all of you who have played a role and a part of this history with your support. Happy anniversary, Leadership Worthington.
Well, thanks, Catherine, for the opportunity. I'm Kathy Moore, and as Catherine said, kind of by default, I became the first executive director of Leadership Worthington. And at that time, we really, even though there had been quite a bit of planning by a lot of talented, committed, passionate people, we really didn't know exactly what we were doing, and which is always kind of a grand experiment. And I think collectively we had a sense of that pioneer spirit of charting a new course, and there's something really fun and exciting about that. And it was really a bonding thing. Joan Bird, our dear Joan, was in the very first of the charter class, among many others. And in fact, it's interesting because I was trained I was an English teacher in Worthington in the 70s before our children were born, and then took time away, finished a master's degree in guidance and counseling, was at home with our children when they were very young, and then started back very part-time as a school counselor in the Worthington district. Then I went over to Dublin and was doing a job share as a school counselor at Indian Run Elementary in Dublin. And as happens in a school setting, levies go down, and when you are a counselor, not a classroom teacher, and you're the new kid on the block, you are the first to go. And so I was riffed, they call it, from that program, and I got a call from Kathy Meyer, whom I went to Wittenberg with. And Kathy, John, we were trying to decide exactly what Kathy's title was or what she did. But she did lots.
Extended education, it was called. Extended education.
Extended education, that's exactly right. And she did so many wonderful things for the Worthington schools. And I think Kathy was instrumental in, a visionary about this concept of Leadership Worthington. And I had gone to college with Kathy. She called me and said, "Hey, I hear you're without a job." And I said, "Yeah, for now." And she said, "How would you like to be the new director of Leadership Worthington?" And I said, "Okay, what's that?" And so with that, we launched this thing, and we had a ball. Didn't we have fun that first year? Because
Pictures of some of them having
yeah. And another personal little story, you may know Jennifer Ween, who is the Director of Teaching and Learning, Director of Academic Excellence and Professional Development in the Worthington Schools now, kind of an assistant superintendent. She was a member of that charter class, and toward the end of our charter year of Leadership Worthington, she said, "Say, I'm supposed to become the new principal of this new school up in the northeast quadrant of the district called Slate Hill Elementary." And she said, why don't you come be my guidance counselor? And so that, I said, okay. And so my tenure with Leadership Worthington in that leadership position was just that 1 year, because I went on then with a member of the class of Leadership Worthington to help start this wonderful school called Slate Hill. So it's interesting how it all works out. But thank you, Catherine, for the opportunity to say hello. I think it's really incredible what has happened to this program, because we really didn't know where we were going 25 years ago. But look what's happened. It's wonderful. Thank you, and congratulations to all of us.
Thank you all. I have pictures if you want to see them.
Thank you, ladies. Another enduring contributor to Leadership Worthington since the very beginning, whose love and passion for this organization is truly perhaps unrivaled. An institution in her very own right, as Catherine said. Please help me welcome our indefatigable Executive Director, Joan Burton.
Geez, Jim, was I supposed to say something?
You can wing it.
I can wing it? Okay. Catherine and Kathy, thank you so very much. If you said back then you didn't know what it was, well, guess what? They know what it is now. They know what it is now. Thanks. I've received a couple notes from folks that could not make it, and one of them was from Marjorie Krebs, and for those of you that are in the first class, remember Marjorie. And she says, Joan, I'm sorry I can't be there with you today. We are currently living in sunny Albuquerque, New Mexico. Sorry, I just couldn't help myself, but it's 60 degrees today. I so enjoyed my time in Leadership Worthington and meeting so many great people that make Worthington a wonderful place to live and work. I have come across many other programs in other areas, but none compare to the quality of the experiences we had with the Leadership Worthington, the breadth of knowledge that was shared by presenters and participants, and the camaraderie. So, Kathy, you remember Marjorie, so delighted. Jim, you moved all my notes all over the place. First of all, make sure you look at the wall of leaders. You may recognize somebody, a third cousin, twice removed or something on the wall of leaders. And if your name isn't there, then you didn't graduate. All right. And we also, we put a time capsule in a couple years ago. It's going to be opened up in 2025. In case anybody's going to be around in 2025, they'll be there when you open up. And it's in front of City Hall. And there are some sheets around on the chairs that say, messages for the future. If you would be kind to, before you leave, at least write something on there and said, hey, you had a great time, and what you would like for leaders of the future, maybe another 25 years from now, to read that you have written. Okay, so it's 25 years, and I only have one thing to say. Well, maybe two. Well, maybe a whole bunch of sentences. We are so glad we've gotten to this point. 487, and I've shaken every one of their hands in the last 25 years. And this is all about you. You made 25 years happen, and we'd like to see another 25 years happen also. But maybe we'll start now with 5-year anniversary from here, make it 30, and then so on and so forth. But please come back, and especially if you get a whole bunch of Leadership Worthington alumni all in the same room. They will talk about everything that they learned, and each one is something different. How they took their transformational leadership to a different level. How they work better now with their office, their work, with their family. So you really did learn something, Kathy, except for spoon hanging, maybe, that we did in the class. Remember the spoon hanging? Yeah, sure. But thank you so much for making this special. Even the weather didn't keep you away from meatballs and spring rolls and a free drink and delicious food. And thank goodness for Doubletree. They did a fantastic job. Can you give a hand to everybody? So that one or two words went on a little bit further. Who is next? I think You're next? I'm next. I just want to say one thing. Bradley Sowash. How many people know Bradley Sowash? Right. We have one of his piano students here who's played wonderful music for us. And Julian, we hope to see you again sometime with Leadership Worthington. Would you stand up and everybody give me a hand? You're going on to college next year, right? That should not stop you from signing up for Leadership Worthington. Hey, here. Okay.
No, don't go anywhere too quick. This young lady is always bugging me for, you owe me a glass of wine. And yeah, well, you know, so tonight I thought it would be fitting that I just bring you the whole bottle. So give her a big round of applause for all that she does for this organization. Don't drink it all at once. All right, I would like to next introduce you to one of the two gentlemen that are inspiring the next generation of community and business leaders here in Worthington. Please help me welcome to the podium our adult class facilitator and half of the dynamic duo that is behind Leader Optics, Mr. Mark Farrell.
Hello, how you guys doing? So my partner Tom actually volunteered to say a few words at the 25th anniversary gala tonight, and then his household was bombarded by some sort of biological conspiracy, and he's got the influenza there. So I apologize for Tom's absence. He wishes he could be here. He did send me a text and told me that he's been sleeping for 48 hours, and I told him to go drink some water and quit bugging me. I also want to appreciate, Jim, thank you for letting me follow Catherine, Kathy, and Joan up here. There's no way I can compete with their words. It's interesting, though, that the motto about Inspire, Connect, so Kathy Moore, I don't know if you remember or not, but Kathy actually helped my family out with a son of mine, Jack, who's now a junior in high school, and is 6 foot tall now from when you saw him last, but I really appreciate that. It is absolutely our honor. I actually lived in Worthington for 11 years. We moved from Clintonville, and I didn't even know there was a Leadership Worthington program. I had joined Tom. I grew up at Nationwide Insurance. I was there for 25 years. Tom and I grew up together there. He started a consulting firm. He said, hey, let's go do this thing on our own. We're going to teach leadership and business consulting, what we had been doing for 25 years. We love teaching leadership. Let's go bid on this thing for Leadership Worthington. I'm sure you're all well aware of it. I'm like, no, I don't know anything about it. But again, my life had been I'd been Nationwide prior to that. And it has been far beyond our expectations. I'll tell you this much, the class that we have assembled, I would take those folks anywhere. I mean, we have a very diverse class representing a number of different industries. We learn as much from our group as we're hoping to inspire them to connect. It would take a team of wild horses to get me to leave Worthington, and I hope that we can be part of another, quarter of a century of inspiring leadership. And as I define leadership, it's really quite simple. Inspiring and motivating a group towards a goal. Well, there isn't anything more noble a cause than advancing probably the best community I've ever been a part of. And I had a kind of an adversarial relationship with Worthington when I was in high school. I grew up in Clintonville. I went to Bishop Watterson, and I played basketball there. And in 1986, the team that took us out of the state tournament happened to be this school called Thomas Worthington. So, but I'm over that now. My boys go to Worthington schools, and again, like I said, it's our pleasure and delight and honor to be here. And Tom, I'm sure if he were here, would want to speak some Spanish to you, because he never speaks Spanish, so I'm going to just say what he would tell you. From the bottom of our hearts, robaste un pedacito de mi corazón. So you stole a little piece of our hearts by welcoming us into the Leadership Worthington community. So thank you very much.
Very good. All right, tonight we have with us our esteemed president of the Worthington City Council, to present a proclamation honoring our 25th anniversary and our impact in the community. Please help me welcome former Leadership Worthington trustee, Ms. Bonnie Michael.
Thank you very much. I've had the opportunity to be able to work with Leadership Worthington basically from its inception. And I can't say enough about the wonderful program that it has. We've been able to interview many of its leaders who've served on some of our boards and commissions in the city, and we've been part of many of the different organizations and volunteer groups that we have in our community. And so I have to say hats off to Leadership Worthington for the absolute wonderful job you've done, the terrific programs that you've provided, and the excellent leaders that you've turned out in our community. That being said, we're going to have, the proclamation says, whereas Leadership Worthington is a program developed by the Worthington Education Foundation and supported by the City of Worthington to enhance the understanding of leadership qualities and to develop individual and group leadership potential in order to create a better Worthington community. And whereas tonight we are celebrating Leadership Worthington's 25th anniversary with the theme Journeys Abound, we recognize the meaningful journeys past, present, and future that Leadership Worthington has inspired in its students and graduates. And whereas Worthington will continue to grow and prosper as Leadership Worthington graduates take on leadership roles in their schools, workplace, community, while making a difference in the lives of Worthington residents. Now, therefore, I, Bonnie Michael, Worthington City Council President, do here recognize Leadership Worthington on its 25th anniversary and further thank Leadership Worthington's staff, board, members, volunteers, alumni, and students for supporting the future of Leadership Worthington and ensuring its lasting impact in the community of Worthington. Thank you. Turn this around. There we go. Thank you. It's a great program. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we're almost done here. You may have received an email or two from Joan recently about tonight's event. I don't know, maybe just one or two. But, you know, not only are we gathered here tonight to celebrate the really rich history and tradition of our organization, but we're also looking to the future and how we can remain a relevant producer of tomorrow's leaders. To help secure the financial future of this organization, the Board of Trustees recently has undertaken the establishment of an endowment fund. For those that have donated or pledged to donate, we sincerely thank you for supporting the vision of the board. As a little incentive leading up to right now, for every $100 donated or pledged, your name is in this little suitcase right here to be drawn for a $500 gift certificate to the Castle Inn Bed and Breakfast down in Circleville. And I had the pleasure of taking my wife there a few years ago for her birthday, and it's a really lovely facility, great food and great service, and you can even put the armor on if you so desire. So we're going to award that right now. Let's see, who's a good person that wants to pick this? Kathy Moore, why don't you come on over and pick this for us? All right, we're going to shake them up. Mix them up. Mix them all up. All right, Valerie Knapp.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Excellent. There you go. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you.
Hey Valerie, in case you
Before we get on with the rest of the evening, I would like to make a few acknowledgments. First and foremost, to my wife Kim, and to Becky Henman, who couldn't be here tonight, and also to Joan Bird for their hard work and support in helping make tonight's event possible. Please help me thank all of them.